Welcome to our November Housing Committee meeting. Lots to get through today, discuss. As I have committed to all of you every week, I do everything I can for us to end this meeting on time, which is at 8:30 sharp. I believe last month we ended at 8:33. So you have my commitment. We have a lot to get through today. Hopefully you all received the agenda. And thanks to Khalid for helping me with that and making sure we have all of the appropriate agenda items on here. So today we're going to talk about quite a few things. One is we are going to hear from the applicants for the Landmarks Preservation Commission application for 168 Midwood Street. We'll start off with that. Hopefully we can get a quick vote on that and continue to move on. After that, I have a quick report out since the last meeting to talk about some of the things we discussed and action steps that have been taken since then. Talk a bit more about our priorities as a committee for the coming months. And we talked about creating a resolution last month, and I want to kind of move that conversation forward. I saw many of you at the Vital Brooklyn Town Hall a couple weeks ago, or was that last week? I don't even remember. But not too long ago, and kind of some follow-up on that. We'll talk about the City of Yes liaison, prioritize our invitations for the next meeting, and adjourn. So I'm going to keep us going pretty quickly through all of this so that we can get through all of that. Appreciate your support in making sure we get through this and also have good conversation. And let's get going. So
can I ask one quick question? First, this is Chester Dean.
Sure.
Here. Like, who are you? Like, what is your relationship? Like, how does this committee work? I'm just interested. Like, do you run the committee? Are you the leader of the committee, or is it just like this meeting?
Yes.
Like,
Sorry. Chester, you are who are you? Sorry.
I can put my video on, and there we are. If you can see me.
Hi, Chester.
Who am I? I'm just I went to the website and there was a meeting, so I just joined.
Cool. Great. Welcome. So my name is Erin Mazursky. Everyone calls me Maz. I'm a official member of the Community Board 9, which is a volunteer appointment to the community board. I've been on the board a little over a year now. I got appointed in June of 2022, and I was asked to be the chair of the housing committee as a volunteer. And so I chair the housing committee, which mostly means that I run the meetings, help set the agenda, work with the community board office to do all of that, and then kind of serve as a liaison between the board office, this committee, and the community. In a lot of ways, I see myself as a facilitator. And so what gets brought into this space are things that I try to just help move forward and raise concerns and connect people to the right people so that we can get those concerns heard in the right ways.
Perfect. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah. Thanks for joining. Yeah. Thanks for joining.
One tiny, hopefully this will be quick. What is the scope of the housing committee? Great
question. Members, feel free to pipe in, because I think that there's some different interpretations of that, but essentially our job is a couple of things. Again, like, our main job is really as a liaison between the community of CB9, which is sort of Southern Crown Heights, Wingate, and Prospect Lefferts Garden, broadly speaking. And so we are the liaison between the community and the community board, and broadly more city government around critical issues related to housing in the district. And so we work to address those issues. We work to make sure our concerns are heard and raised. And we work in the best interest of tenants, homeowners, and landlords as well. You know, they are stakeholders in the community. And obviously different voices get heard in different ways. So yeah, that is the objective definition of what I would say we do.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anyone else want to add to that?
Madam Chair, you did an excellent job.
Thank you, Augustine. Appreciate it. Okay, so top of the agenda is we have an application that we need to address. And I believe what happens is we make a recommendation to the broader community board, and that will get voted on in the next general board meeting. But there is an application, hopefully you all received the background information, to slightly alter some windows at 168 Midwood Street, which is a historically preserved building. And I believe the owners of that
Yep.
building are
I'm
on.
here.
Great. Hi, Marie
Oh,
and
I'm the
Michael.
owner, and Michael Hansen is our architect and friend.
Great. Hi, Marie. Do you all want to just briefly present your application, explain, and
Sure. I'd be happy to if I can share my screen and show.
sure. Oh, let me
Okay.
see. Let me just
Okay.
make sure you can, you should be enabled to do that now. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Hi, I'm Michael Hansen. I'm here, as I said, on behalf of Marie Hoguet and Kyle Sundin, the owners of 168 Midwood, which is this home here. It's a single family home, 3 stories with a cellar, very typical. It's in the Prospect Lefferts Garden neighborhood. We're here tonight because Marie and Kyle would like to do a relatively modest renovation of their home. Part of the purpose for that being that they have 2 boys. And like I said, this house is 3 stories, so 2 lower living levels and then an upper level. And I guess to get to the point, the driving point of this renovation is so their boys can each have equally sized bedrooms. There's a number of other things they're getting into here. They are replacing their gas heating systems with electric, but when it comes down to landmarks, they're just fine with everything. But the fact that changing this level bedroom here in the rear of the house, and specifically changing it to this to have equal bedrooms for the boys in the back and some minor layout changes to the bathrooms. What that means as far as landmarks is concerned is that only in the instance of upper level windows do they require these changes to go through a hearing with the entire commission. Were these changes to be on the lower level, this is something that could be passed at what's called staff level, as I'm sure you're all aware, where a simple staff member or preservationist could rule on this and say this is permissible and we'll move forward. Because we are changing the fabric and the nature of the rear windows here, the commission wants to have a full presentation and discuss it. Part of the reason that they present to us is that, you know, changing the fabric of the neighborhood from its historic or traditional layout, that some other changes may start to happen and they're looking to preserve that. We feel that what we've chosen to do, what we're presenting here, is to really try to hold on to the traditional value here. We're making a change in the pattern of the windows, but we are replacing the windows with identical windows that had been approved by Landmarks a few years back when Kyle and Marie replaced them and updated things to clear a couple of Landmarks objections that were on the house when they purchased it. So they brought it back to its historic standard. And in doing this renovation, it's this minor change that we're looking for. The issue of this change creating a difference in the fabric of the neighborhood is in fact just in part with the neighborhood, that it's already, yes, all the homes are very similar. They're all built around the same time, but there are some neighbors that have already made some changes, including to the rear top level, and specifically 2 houses down at 176 Midwood, even though it's, I'm sorry, 3 doors down, the address is somewhat different. There's a full height addition to the rear of the neighbors there, which I would say is doing far more to change the fabric of those windows in the back than what we're proposing here. And also, I think, in fact, this change is something we've worked to keep it relatively in place with what's existing there, make sure that the windows and the placement of them maintain the rhythm there. In other areas in the neighborhood across the street at 155, in fact, on a visible street, one of the neighbors has removed their stoop altogether and replaced it with a door down below. And I think, it looks beautiful. And in fact, have no objections to the other addition as well. That's sort of minor changes within the deviation of this neighborhood. So what we're asking for is for the Landmarks Preservation Commission to rule that though we are making a deviation and a change, that it's acceptable. And that it's the kind of thing where though we are changing it to make the home more livable for the family that's there, we are trying to keep it within the fabric of the tradition that's there and of the structure that's there, maintaining the bay, maintaining all the original detailing, and in fact, just making this one change to the top rear of it to change the windows and to make the bedrooms a little bit more livable. And I would note that throughout the rest of the neighborhood on the lower levels, a lot of changes have been made, especially on the ground level where there's an extreme variation underneath these bays and in other areas out throughout the backyard, other homes nearby. But it seems that Landmarks is most interested in the fact that these are on the top level. So we're simply applying to speak to the commission. I am fairly confident that the commission will see what it is that we're trying to do and understand. They're asking for specific details of the windows and types, which we'll provide to them. But I think it's going to be a change that should be acceptable within the context, given what we have there, just to make the home more livable for the residents. You're muted, Mass.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for that. I'm just going to open it up to the committee for any additional questions. I felt like that was very comprehensive, but does anyone have any questions for Michael or Marie at this time? Somebody who is.
Hi, yes, I do
Yes.
have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I noticed that the other houses in the area have had work done in regards to extensions. And obviously that was that before Landmarks was even established in 1965?
No, I don't believe that addition was that long ago. I can check the records and see, but I believe, Marie, do you have an idea of when that was done, the neighbors?
I don't know off the top of my head. I think we tried to look it up, but I don't know.
I'm saying that because if those extensions were indeed
Right.
put on the houses before the 1965 Landmarks preservation, then I'm not sure if I would bring them into the argument to justify your windows, which doesn't seem to be a major thing compared to what you're showing.
Right.
But I would tend to think that it would be important to, if you're going to use these examples, it would be important to find out if they were put on prior to Landmarks preservation, in which case I wouldn't use it to compare.
Yeah. Janice, thank you so much. Appreciate that call out a lot. Thank you.
And Janice, may I add to that too? Thank you very much for pointing that out. We will look that up and have that with us for Landmarks. I will say that the reason that we do present these as examples is because we've consulted directly with Landmarks prior to this, and we were informed by the preservationists that it would be in our best interests to show these types of deviations, especially at the top floor rear in the neighborhood, in order to take that to the commission to talk to. So it was specifically at the direction of Landmarks that we did that. But thank you so much for your input. You're right. We do have to have that.
Suki? You're on mute.
Hi, thank you for coming, Michael and Marie also. I'm a member of the Lefferts Manor Association board. And I'd love to show, which is the historic district that covers this home. I'd love to show this to our board members. We're actually meeting in like 10 minutes. It would be really nice also if you guys have time to stop in and join us. If you give me your email address, I can send you a link. I don't anticipate there being a huge problem, but I don't think anybody is aware of this yet. So, and I think if there is going to be anything, it'll come from the historic district and from the neighbors. So, just if you wouldn't mind, if I can send over the presentation, or, even if you'd like to come and talk to the board members, it's like 8 or 10, I think at this point it's like 10 or 12 of us, and we're like literally about to meet tonight. So look forward to hearing from you at some point.
Just to clarify, Suki, because I'm just understanding process, because the goal would be to hear feedback from them as well. Is that you're thinking?
Yeah, I think just, as I said, I don't foresee a problem, but nobody has, I just checked in with a couple of the board members who live under a block, and I don't think anybody's heard about this yet. So just for people to know and for there to be feedback, if any, before it goes to the commission.
But Suki, just to be clear, that presentation is not connected or related to whether the housing committee tonight approves
No,
this.
I mean, you
Yeah.
all can, make your decision based on the presentation tonight. I'm just suggesting that because this is part of the Lefferts Manor Historic District, that it would be, I think we would appreciate your making the presentation to us, or if you don't have time tonight, if you can email me the presentation, because we're literally about to meet, so I'm probably going to say something to them right now.
Okay, can I just clarify, is that the customary process for this kind of application, is for the Manor Association to review those?
It's not, I mean, we're not, a formal part of the ULURP process, the way the community, or like the landmarks is like kind of a similar process to ULURP, but that goes through the community board. So we're not formally a part of that, but and I'm sure Michael could speak to this, like practically speaking, if there are any comments, that almost always comes from either your neighbors, the historic district that you sit in, or the preservation community.
Yeah, it sounds like, just to sum it up, because I want to keep us moving. I think 3 things. One is that for our process, for the sake of the housing committee, this comes to the housing committee. We will either vote to approve or disapprove of this proposal, move it up, I believe, and Colin, I actually want your clarification, move it up to the full community board to vote on with our recommendation, and then I think the process that Suki is suggesting is a less formal process, but one that is most likely important for the goodwill of your neighbors and and the preservation
Right. And
society.
Marie,
there.
I'm sure you're aware, I'm sure Michael has told you that the commission, if you're going before the commission, then it's a public hearing. So at that point, anybody can show up, which again, I think is unlikely, but I'm not going to speak for everyone.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say for my part, I'm sorry, is it Suki?
Yes.
Suki, hi. We shouldn't probably take up the community board's time with this, but just if you could let me know when you're meeting, I'm more than happy to present as long as the owners are okay with it, and I believe they are. It does depend on timing. I got a little one that I need to put to bed at some point. And so if you're meeting tonight, I'd love to know.
We're
what
meeting
time.
right now.
Okay, so let's do
it-
this because I really would like to move this forward. We have a lot to get through tonight. So, Michael, Suki, are you okay saying your email address out loud? Because
Yeah,
the chat
sure.
is disabled for this.
Yeah.
And maybe Michael, you can take that down, email Suki, you guys can be in touch and we can move towards a vote.
Great, thank you.
Okay, it's a SUKICHEONG@gmail.com. And my apologies to the chair for, taking too much.
That's okay. No
time.
worries.
Can you SUKICONG?
CHEONG
CHEONG.
at gmail.com.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
Okay,
good.
thanks so much, Michael. And we look forward to seeing you and Marie. We're all neighbors. It's
Yeah.
not a big deal.
Okay, great. Thanks, Suki. Appreciate your dedication to all of this. Okay, so I'm gonna motion to vote on this. Can I get a second?
Matt,
Yes, Janice.
I have a
Sorry.
question.
Absolutely.
So I'm understanding that the application was submitted and it was denied by Landmarks because of the windows. And now in order for it to be overridden, we have to vote on it to go forward to the board to.
No, my understanding is that there's for certain buildings in Michael, but I'll just summarize, but like my understanding is that for certain houses are under the landmarks and
landmarks.
under landmarks. And so in order to make any structural changes, we have to approve them as part of the process. And so there was no denying, it's just that this is part of the standard process to make changes to a landmarked building.
Are
That's
you sure this is the way it goes? Because I
Yes,
know
100%.
some
Yeah.
properties in other landmark areas, but I guess maybe what it is because they do what landmarks tell them to do, as opposed to in this case, there's a variation on what
Yeah.
needs to be done, right?
Correct. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Because I'm kind of feeling like something is going awry and maybe it needed to have been discussed.
No, it's not.
at
This is just part of like,
at
it's like
the,
public safety. It's like public safety approves liquor licenses. We approve landmark changes. That's part
No,
of
I'm
what.
talking about, it sounds like something would awry with there not being any contact with the landmarks, PLG landmarks. I guess that's the association, maybe that's the block association or something.
No, I don't think it went awry. I just think it's not, I think the issue that Suki was bringing up is that the Landmarks and Preservation Committee of PLG is not it's not a formal body that makes recommendations to the city. It's just is that right, Suki? That makes recommendations to the city. It's its own committee.
So we're not tasked with making recommendations to the city, but since we're basically the historic district, anything that comes up is most likely, you're covered by the neighborhood association. And we do sit around and discuss these things, although most applications are, as Janice pointed out, they don't even rise to the level of needing to go before the commission. They get staff approval. But if this one did, then,
May I address this very briefly? Janice, the
Yes.
standard application procedure, and I've been through this with landmarks several times, though admittedly, all before Zoom was involved here. The standard application process is when you're making a deviation, there are two levels of permission that you need to get from landmarks for any landmarked building. One level is at what's called staff level, where you speak one-on-one with a staff preservationist. And it's the type of thing that they can say, yes, you can do this, or no, you need to go to the commission to get permission on this. And that doesn't mean, no, you can't do this. That means You just need, the commission needs to weigh in on this because it's a special, and they have rules that are set up. One of the rules is if it's on the rear of the house, they can pass it at staff level unless it's on the top floor. And then they want the commission to rule in on it. Once you have to present to the commission, you just have to present to them. But a requirement is before you can be scheduled to speak to the commission, you need to first speak to the community board, and the community board sends their recommendation to the Landmarks Preservation Commission as a result. As Suki pointed out, Landmarks Preservation Commission meetings are all public meetings, and anyone with an interest may attend those meetings and may make comments, and frequently do. And it's a very helpful part that we have the fabric of the community coming to talk about how we maintain the historic nature of these beautiful neighborhoods to keep them all together. So groups like Suki's, though they are not formally tasked with these provisions, they come and they bring their perspectives, and it's extraordinarily helpful to all of us in making sure that whatever we do in the city follows some of the fabric and the beauty of the historic nature of it. So it's all part of the system that Landmarks set up to make sure that we just don't go willy-nilly and do whatever we want with these historic pieces. So what we're doing right now is just following that very specific set of steps in order to get our permission to go ahead and make this change.
Thank you.
May I ask a question, please?
Sure, Yanela, go ahead.
Does this have to, this doesn't have to go through the Department of Buildings, right?
Yes, it does. It's already approved through the Department of Buildings. This kind of
Okay.
work is fine with them. It's just that we need permission from Landmarks in order to change the rear top floor windows.
Got it. Thank you.
Mays,
Any
and
other-
picking up where you left off, this is Blackwell. I want to second your motion to move this
Thank you.
forward and take a vote, dear.
Okay, great. Are we okay to do all in favor, say aye, and I'll do any dissent, that way we don't have to go through everything. Is that okay? I think I need a motion for that motion. Okay, I'm just gonna say,
I'm good with it.
okay, great, thank you. Okay, all in favor, please say yes or raise your hand on Zoom.
Aye, yes.
Aye.
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 Great. Wonderful. Any nays? Okay, great. So through unanimous consent, we pass the motion. Great job, everyone. Thank you, Michael and Marie. This proposal will go to the general board, that, will be presented to the general board. I believe it's like November 28th, something like that. It's on, don't take my exact word for it, but I'm pretty sure that's the date of the next general board meeting. So you should probably be there in person for questions. But we'll present this proposal. I think I'll be presenting the proposal for a vote to the general board. Great.
Philly, should we write to make sure that we are on schedule to be there to answer any questions? Will we get notification of the general board meeting, or?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay.
Lisa,
in.
sorry. Yeah.
The general board meeting is next week on the 20th.
Oh, thanks for letting me know. Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
he
it on the
can just
calendar.
call the board, he can call the board office.
Okay.
You
Okay,
can
yeah.
just call the board office and just let them know.
Okay,
And
great.
they'll-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Like, I don't know what day or time it is anymore. All
It's
right.
been
Yeah.
that
So the
kind of
next,
week
You
already.
also go to
It's
the
that
board
kind of week.
website and sign up.
It's on the
at board
website.
Website.
Yeah, it's on the
Everything's
website.
Sign up for the
It's,
mailing list.
yeah.
Thank you all
And if
so
I may,
much.
thank you all very much. And Suki, I did just email you, so.
Okay, we're actually meeting in person tonight, so I'll send you the information.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
all.
you all.
Okay. We're gonna move to the next agenda item, report out since the last meeting. So, I wanted to give a couple reports. So I took back what we talked about at the last meeting, and a couple of things happened. One is that, I informed the board office of, the critical need to get information on every development that is happening in the district. In addition to all other data that we can get around questions around beds in the district, median income, sort of, what else did we talk about? Homelessness population. I submitted a full list of questions to the board office. They are in the process of getting that information to us. And I hope that by December, we will have a longer report out of kind of the state of housing in the district, because it's important information to help us shape kind of what we're saying, how we're saying it. So I wanted to say I did follow up on that. I also reached out to Assemblymember Cunningham's office and was able to get a brief meeting with him I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago now, to just say, make sure that he understood that, we were the housing committee, we had some concerns, and get a better sense of his priorities in the district. The town hall happened shortly thereafter. We also reached out to Crystal. Nothing was like decided. It was just sort of a entry point to Assemblymember Cunningham's office. And then we reached out to Crystal Hudson's office about joining this meeting. They were unavailable, but my hope is that we can get them at one of the next subsequent meetings to also talk about priorities in the district. So all to say that some progress was made. We're getting there. And I think we talked about a really critical next step is collecting information. And so I want to continue to work with the board office to get that information so that we can present it coherently to the committee. So that's my brief report in terms of follow-up. Anything else people want to add, sort of things of note since the last meeting, or questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Does that include, or has there been any change in the height or the density of the buildings?
Oh, that I did not ask that question, but that is a good question, and I remember you asking that at the town hall. I think that is a question for, I can ask the board office. I don't know if we are going to be able to get that answer.
This is for Brian and
Yeah.
and for the developers.
Yeah.
Because as I said, this is not the original plan.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I did ask Brian was, I did not get a full answer. But what I did ask him was, we want to know, given the stage of development of these buildings, what is alterable at this point? And he said he would be in touch. So.
Okay, well, I guess I'll be in touch with him as well, because there has been nothing has been placed in the ground as of yet, and it is unconscionable that he, as the representative for our community, and to see all around us now, the air quality and the density and the shadowing and all of that is coming to place, which is now infringing on the lifestyle and the quality of life of the residents that are here. We also need, as I said before, there's going to be an issue with us having this state to install I'm sorry, our solar panels, which we have been waiting for all this time. And now a 6-story is gonna be overshadowed by a 14. So that in itself is unconscionable, and as the elected official, the constituents are really in a pickle and not happy, because what we do is we expect that you're gonna do the best for all community, not just some. Thank you.
Yeah. Understood. So I'm gonna move it to the next. I actually think that that is a good segue, Unella, into the next agenda item. Which is discussion of housing priorities for the district and creation of a resolution. I think, based on feedback from based on feedback from the last meeting. Oh, Suki, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Just want to say super quickly before I go, Erin, I can provide you with information about where all of the new developments are since 2010 and the numbers of units, the height of the buildings, etc. Things like whether they got 421A and the affordability levels and so on, you might want to ask the board office to research. But I can tell you that almost everything that started before like 2021 is going to be a 421A. There very few of them were not. Just I put up a website at nyczoning.org that has all of the past developments as well as everything that's already been permitted going forward. There's about an additional 2,000 units, and that does not include Vital Brooklyn. Vital Brooklyn's not even on my map yet because it's still being discussed. So I'll just leave it at that. nyczoning.org in case anyone is interested.
What, Suki, what's it again? NYC?
Zoning.org. And I'll send it to the board office as well, and you can get it from them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Suki. That will be really helpful. So what I was hoping to do today is start talking about, I don't think that we're gonna like create a full resolution, but my proposal to this committee as kind of one of our goals for this year is to put together a resolution on sort of state of the district and concerns, but also what we would like to see for this district. I think what I've heard is obviously Vital Brooklyn is of utmost concern and importance, but it goes beyond that because of the number of developments happening in this district at the speed that it's happening without the accommodations. And so I think in addition to the obvious concerns around Vital Brooklyn, there's a broader concern around so many things. The rate of development, I would also say costs and amenities, and how the development is impacting everyday way of life. And so at this time, I want to open up to additional, I want to open it up to all of you so that we can start collecting those concerns in that context and sort of in that umbrella. Assuming everyone, maybe I shouldn't assume that a resolution is kind of the direction we want to move, but that's my proposal to you all. Chester.
Right, you're referring to Vital Brooklyn. I don't know, like, what is Vital Brooklyn? Just I'm sure everybody else knows what it is, so.
Sure. Would somebody like to, well, I'll give a brief overview and others can feel free to weigh in. Vital Brooklyn is a initiative that is being initiated by the state, so Governor Hochul, around developing state-owned land for housing throughout the state. And there's I think there's a couple of Vital Brooklyn sites in our district. The site that has gotten most concern is the Kingsborough is the site of the current Kingsborough Psychiatric Ward, where they seek to put an additional, there's 2 buildings there right now, and they seek to put an additional, I'm gonna get the number wrong, but it's more. And so it is currently being discussed within the community. Would
Well,
anyone else like to add to that? I'm trying to
Right.
be diplomatic here.
I know, that's the second phase. That's not the first phase.
Yeah,
The first phase is Kingsbrook Jewish Hospital, which is right next door to our complex.
right,
And that in itself is going to be, and the parking lot across from there, which the hospital uses now, is going to end up being underneath a supermarket. And I think it's 12 or 14 stories on top of that. Then you have the nursing home, I think is going to remain for like special needs kids, but other areas of the buildings and the hospital is going to be developed. And that's Kingsbrook Jewish. That's the first phase. And on the corner, there's a church next to the old boys school, the old boys playground or park, that they are now putting up a church is on the corner, which is like a 2-story church. This is going to be another 14 stories or 12 stories right there on the corner. So, and the second phase is the Kingsborough Psychiatric. And in that's the second phase they're going into now. And it's pretty much about the same height and density for some of the buildings down there. The issue being is there any way that at some point we could partner or have joint meetings with the community board adjacent to ours? Because this does not just affect it, we cross over and they cross over to us. It is affecting both homeowners in the neighborhood that have these towering buildings now, and also, you know, the fact that some of these people will be displaced or placed in other areas. So it is a total upheaval as life as you know it. And you know, that's where everybody is up in arms, because the community input and the residents that's been here, you have people been living here when some of these streets were dirt roads. I have neighbors that, you know, has been living here for years, and now the quality of life in their twilight years, you know, and that's why people are concerned, because of the height and the density. And as I said before, in other areas of the district, this does not happen. And that's why people are saying why we're not against having the development. We're not against having the housing. What we're against is the density and the height of these buildings.
Along with the aftermath after all of these new entities move in and all the other issues start to arise.
And a lot of them are, not to say it's an issue for supportive housing. So we have to know, people are concerned about, you know, the homeowners, their children. Not saying that this may be an issue. I don't know on the other side of the district, closer to Community Board 17, how this affects them. I know for us on the other side, it's intermittent based on, you know, some of the people that, you know, comes out, they come around. But, you know, it is an issue and it's a change in the fabric of what we're used to in our neck of the woods.
Thank you. Appreciate that context.
You're welcome.
So I created an agenda item for Vital Brooklyn specifically, as the next one. I do want to just go back to this current agenda item, which is, Chester asked, so
Sorry.
we're addressing it. No, it's fine. It was a good question. I just want to make sure, I see Lisa's hand, but I want to make sure. So I put forth the idea of working together to create a resolution about our vision for housing for this district and priorities that we want to put forth, in addition to pressing concerns that we have more holistically for the district. And so I wanted to get reactions to that as a first step, and then hopefully we can also then discuss what that looks like it means. So there is time built into the schedule for Vital Brooklyn specifically. We will get to that. I just want to ask, how do we feel about a resolution to address the pressing concerns of housing in this district? Lisa, I'm happy to call on you. I just wanted to clarify what we're talking about right now.
Yes, and I am okay with your resolution. I do think that there needs to be some sort of mention that we need very clear answers for our community, right? Because Vital Brooklyn keeps coming up, other issues keep coming up that other folks may say, yes, we are taking this into consideration, but there really isn't an answer. So better communication by the developers, by whoever is running Vital Brooklyn or whatever, when they come to the community board, and making sure that this information is accessible to everybody. So we can say, yes, we need more services, we need whatever, but we also need them to be more clear as to how their projects are going to negatively or positively impact us. That's it.
Appreciate that.
I don't want to monopolize, but is anybody one? Okay, so one other thing I was thinking, which I wanted to mention after the meeting we had with the assembly person, is it because I know originally that one of the things that they were looking at is to have a community advisory, people in the community advisory board. And so that the stakeholders in the community at least can have a say, or be the eyes or ears, or, you know, at least be communicate with on a larger scale with their people or the development as to what's going on with the development, because we do have, you know, a senior population, as well as we do have homeowners and other entities that are around us, not, you know, as active as some of us are in our community, and they depend on us to at least give information. So one of the things that I had wanted to mention at the meeting, but you know, time, was that to propose having going back, which this was one of the proposals that the community had put forward, to have an advisory committee. That way we could all be liaison together to make sure that, you know, everything is everybody's on the same page.
And Yunella, just to be clear, are we talking about Vital Brooklyn specifically,
Yes.
or are we talking about, okay, we're talking about Vital Brooklyn specifically?
Yes, we are again.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She's
bring us
gonna wear
back
you
to
out
the-
with Vital Brooklyn.
I know. I promised you, Yunella, we've got an agenda item for Vital Brooklyn. You're saying it all, but I want to come back to the resolution and get a couple more points of
Okay.
input around, do we want to put a resolution together? Diane,
Yes, hi. Good evening once again. I have a question that I just want to ask because I'm hearing a lot about the Vital Brooklyn and housing and all of that, and how the developers are going up and in terms of the height of the buildings and everything. I mean, from my recollection, um, the developers, they submit applications to the Department of Buildings, and the Department of Buildings, they're the ones that give them approvals on their applications. So how do we as a board, I mean, are we looking to override, or what are we looking to do with all of this? Because the Department of Buildings are the ones who give approvals. I know that the community board, we're liaisons and maybe advisory, but how do we override what the Department of Buildings do in terms of approval to the developers who are building skyscrapers pretty much in the neighborhood?
That is a great question. I am going to, given where the momentum currently is, I'm going to move to the next agenda item, which is about next steps on Vital Brooklyn. Maybe we will either punt the resolution conversation for next month or see if we have time for it. But I'm gonna just go with the momentum here. So I think that's a great question, Diane. And, you know, I think that, I'm going to say something that might be controversial here, but I do think that a lot of this has already gone through the Department of Buildings. A lot of this has already been approved. And so now I think, to me, the question is, what do we have the power to change as a community? Because I don't know that we've got the ability at this point to completely stop the construction altogether, right? And so, you know, I think there's, what I heard at the Vital Brooklyn Town Hall and what I've heard in these meetings is that there's concern about security, there's concerns about parking. In particular, there's concerns about the impact, the environmental impact on surrounding homes, including around solar panels. And so I think that, and I'm happy, I think that what we should do as a committee is pull together those concerns in a more formalized way so that we can go to the assembly member and other stakeholders and make sure we're really clear about the specific concerns and figure out how we can work together. Because feel free to speak up, but I don't think that we can't stop this construction altogether. The question is, what can we do at this stage, given that it's been a 5-year ongoing project that has approval and is supposed to break ground in January. You know, at this stage, I don't think that we can stop that, but I do think that there's some alterations that we can advocate for the better of the community. And so that's what I personally think that's what we should direct and be focused on. But I'm open to other people's thoughts on this. Because I'll admit I'm getting up to speed on this specific project.
Actually, you know, like Yanella's big thing is, why did it change? Because the original plans, we had a voice in it. I mean, for months, a year, we met and went back and forth between the contractors and the community and, you know, with the Vital Brooklyn, and then the pandemic and seats changed hands and it became another story. But the concept is to have a voice, that you know what the community is seeking out of this before you do it, so you can incorporate that. That's the purpose of coming to us in the first place. That's the purpose of the community board, to be a voice for the people against this very type of thing.
And just to be clear, this is not, as Ms. Blackwell said, the original assembly person, Diana Richardson, this was her. She started this project and it was a whole different look. It was aesthetically pleasing, and it fit right into the community. Everybody was on board with it. It's not as if it was a project that nobody wanted, simply because she took into consideration, after having weeks and months and years of meeting with the community, there was a plan that would fit into the community. She's no longer there, and the plan changed. That's why we're at this juncture, because we knew what the original plan was.
So yeah, having a seat at the table is the important part here.
Having a seat at the table and figuring out which table.
Exactly. Yes. Actually, all of them, because they like to hop.
And Cece, are you?
Yeah. Okay.
No. Emma?
Okay. Other thoughts, sorry. Other thoughts, concerns we want to raise. I want to pull all of this together, so that we can more formally bring this to the powers that be.
Mays?
Yeah, go ahead,
Matt?
Janice. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, what was there, Sunday was my Sabbath. And I'd like to know, was there a recording of the meeting that was held on this?
I'm not sure. Go ahead, Fred.
I believe it was live cast. I'll check with Dante, but I know we had it on the YouTube channel. There may be a recording of it on there, but the district office.
Okay, I'll go to YouTube. In the future, could the meetings be on a weekday? Because if it's on a Saturday, that's one person's Sabbath. If it's on a Sunday, that's another person's Sabbath. And no one's Sabbath should take precedence over anybody else's. So I was really shocked that this meeting was called on a Sunday. I was shocked. This has not been done ever. And I've been involved with the community board for years. So, and I am aware of the importance of Vital Brooklyn, which is just as important as all the building that's going on around here that's like crazy. But my concern is that this meeting probably could have been more well attended had it been on a day that was not anyone's Sabbath. So I have some challenges with that. And I'm requesting that in the future, all meetings be held on a day other than people's Sabbath. It was an affront to me. Personally, I feel affronted that I could not attend. I wanted to attend, and it was just an affront. So I would suggest that from this point forward, any meetings, just like we have the housing meeting, we have the general board meeting, we've never had anything on anyone's Sabbath. So this was shocking. I don't even know who thought of it. But that's just my thoughts on it. And Fred, thank you. I will try to go to the link and see if I could see a copy of this meeting. I'm so upset.
Go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, no, just very briefly. The weenie answer is CB9 didn't organize that one. So, but the reality is, I think there were a number of things that they were trying to balance in terms of there was just a number of agencies and representatives they were trying to get and coordinating all the schedules. They were trying to get the governor's office on there. They were trying to get economic development on there. They were trying to get CB9 on there. They were trying to get there's one of two other entities that they were trying to get on there. Yeah, there were a couple of state entities along with the developers as well in terms of the various, because I think there's 3 or 4 developers that are involved in that. So between coordinating all those schedules, that was part of it, and that's why it didn't happen earlier. The other issue that also happened was, to your point, I think the weekdays ended up being very tough for a lot of them just because between doing the work and then coming back and being able to do something afterwards and have that bandwidth was difficult. And then we ran into the problem, okay, well, listen, if you do it on the weekend, you're going to basically interrupt somebody's Sabbath, whether it be on the Saturday or be on the Sunday. I think they made the call because it was closer to the Hasidic neighborhood. They were going to try and get that date for that. But also but rather than try and throw blame anywhere, I do want to extend that one of the things that we are advocating for is hopefully they do this again, because I think that the 2 hours My own personal view on that was I think there's a lot that was unresolved. I don't think we were able to get as deep into the conversation as we could have. So we are having conversations with some of the neighboring districts. CB17 has been very present in our meetings. I've had conversations with them. So we're looking to see if they'll be able to co-host one as well, taking into account, listen, we did this one on a Sunday. Let's try and see if we can get a better date. And this one might be a little bit further down in the district, probably closer to Clarkson Avenue, between Kings County Hospital or downstate. So that's what we're looking for, and that's what we're advocating for. But we'll definitely provide more information as as things develop with that.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the idea of having something jointly with CB17 is a good one. I also, I would love to again spend this time pulling together our concerns. What I've heard is, Unella's question of really getting to the bottom of why it changed and getting a better sense of how it went from what they originally proposed to much taller buildings. And is that what it is, it's the height of the buildings? Is that?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's one of, and we had expected Kingsbrook Psychiatric also, but everything seems to be rolling out at the same time. So it seems as if it's going to be years of dust and dirt and noise.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, how did it change in terms of the height? There's a lot of concerns about security.
Yes.
In that area, as a result of the residents there. Excuse me, 1 second.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry. And then I've heard a lot about parking, and just the parking and congestion as a result of just not only additional residents but additional staff in the area. And then obviously concerns around construction, and then a desire to have a seat at the table and figure out which table or tables that should be. What else am I missing?
You're missing the magic wand to make the building shorter.
Oh, well, I meant yeah, so
Yeah, I'm
height,
just
but
kidding.
okay. Yeah.
But
How do we
also
do
for
that?
them to consider the plumbing and electrical outlets needing upgrading when you're adding all this extra as well at the same time.
And the sewage and all of that, is that going to be taken into consideration? Everything, that we now take for granted. And just bear in mind that we're still gonna have part of the hospital with the children with, I think, special anomalies and sickness. That building is gonna be still there. So we still have the nurses and the whatnot. They're now waiting in the mornings for somebody to leave so they can jump and get a spot as it stands now. And we haven't even started anything. So, and the homeowners too, that's another story. And the majority of them park on the street because some homes don't have parking access. So that's, it's concerning, that's all.
Yeah. I think, was it Augustine? Sorry, I think I missed the person that was talking about the sewage, and I just want to make sure that
Augustine,
I'm,
yeah, that's her.
yeah, sorry. I was taking notes while I was listening. So can you just restate what you were talking about in terms of sewage? You just mean the concern is that
sewage, I mean our pipelines, like the piping
yeah,
here. The last underground survey I'm aware of, and it may have been one since then, is back in the 70s. where they wanted to bring the subway up Eastern Parkway and they found out the ground is too dense underneath, they couldn't do it. So same difference here. You're now constantly putting all this extra weight, all this extra houses. Our underline, the pipes were how many hundreds of years ago to cover how many people now. So it's getting upgraded from the building you're putting there. But that main line that backs up in the street and causes all this ponding every time it rains, you gotta swim across the street or paddle because it's so much water just from the rain. Then there's the electricity. The grids have to be updated. Are they gonna do the same thing like they did in the Bronx when they did all that renovation and upgrade the Bronx? Now every summer, all your brownouts are mostly the Bronx, and where they do the same thing, overpower the grids. So if we look at this before we get started, then we ahead of the game. At least we paying attention.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great point. Fred.
Yeah, no, I think Ms. Blackwell got that. I think the larger umbrella is about the infrastructure. Is it
Yeah.
going to be sufficient for that kind of growth? Because if you go from having nothing on that grid for a long time, and then you're going to increase capacity by 60 to 80%, I don't think they ever built it that good where it's going to be able to withstand that. So we need to know what they're going to do to support those things and what kinds of contingencies they have to make sure we don't have those issues.
Yeah.
So that's all of the power, power, water, environmental stuff, everything.
Yeah. Another concern that I heard
I'm
that I forgot.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That's the thing though, Fred. They do it when the contractors do it, they have to do that part. So they upgrade the pipings and whatever attaching to the building that they put in there. But it's that infrastructure that goes out to the main sewage line and the main electric grid that have to be upgraded to incorporate the new addition to what we already pulling.
Yeah, no, and I think that's part of what's problematic about the entire thing. And Maz, I'll keep it short. I know it's like I can go
That's
back
okay.
and forth, but that's part of what's problematic about that entire conversation is that even when we go through the ULURP, there are opportunities for us as a community board and as a community to weigh in. As this is a state process, it's a lot murkier and a lot more limited in terms of how we do this. I'm not even necessarily clear in terms of how the handoffs handled between the state and the city when they're doing these things as well. I know that there are certain overrides that the state is able to call with in terms of the heights. That's the reason why they were able to add some of the heights, and I don't believe they had to go through the city with that. Or there was a conversation that is transparent to us, and we never see it. But I think we need some answers additionally that come in terms of these are the conversations that have been had. This is the information that exists about that, and this is what we're doing to take care of a lot of these things. But these are all great questions that I think the community deserves answers.
Right. May I jump in and say something, Mr. Chair? Is it possible for and it's up to also our chair of housing to collaborate and work with other communities that their specialty is adjacent to what we're doing in housing, say for environmental and all the environmental committee.
You mean other community boards?
No,
Other
our committee in
committees.
CB9, other committees for CB9.
Meaning there's an environmental impact, there's a land use impact.
Correct.
Oh, I
Correct.
got you.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one thing I meant to say that is on my list is I've heard concerns around the environmental impact, specifically around around the implications for houses that recently received solar that may now be blocked from because of the buildings. So I just want to say I've got that on the list. I've added that. But yes, it's a fair point about making sure this is something we're liaisoning with other committees.
Yes.
around.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Teresa's had her hand up. So I'm gonna go ahead, Teresa.
Hi, I just wanted to speak to the point of preparation before the housing goes up, because what we're seeing here is devastating. We've got a giant pit on Bedford Avenue where the sewer collapsed, right?
Mm.
And all these emergency services have been in my neighborhood. There's a huge hole. There was, neighbors had reported these things. There were cracks, there were potholes, the cracks got bigger, the potholes got bigger. FDNY told them to shut down. They didn't. The way that the development went was there was a huge hole dug and it didn't look like it was being done properly. And the sidewalk was cracking, the street was cracking. We were reporting it and it was getting basically pushed under the rug and not dealt with. DOT, DOB, none of these agencies came and did what they should have. And what turned into like one pothole, the whole street was basically, the sewer had collapsed there. So now there's pumps down there, diesel pumps running 24/7. I don't know how long project is going to take. They say a week, they say months, but this is something the city should have prepared for. And when they saw that this erosion was happening, it should have been dealt with. That the way that they put in concrete and dig a hole is not supposed to collapse the whole street outside of it. It's they like, oh, but they're old, but if it's not prepared, devastating consequences could happen. They've all said to us that we're lucky a car or a bus didn't fall into that hole because it had been going on for so long, the erosion underneath the street, the sewer pipe, that it was completely collapsed and it was just a thin layer of pavement left. You could see it'd been cracking. I mean, this has been going on for months, right? And we'd reported it and none of these agencies came to our aid. And I'm going to speak about this again. I spoke to somebody at Crystal's office, Hudson's office today. I don't know, but this is just like a warning for all of you down there, like in East Flatbush, where the Vital Brooklyn is coming. They're not prepared. The sewers, when I came in with the meeting, Olna, Augustine, you are all correct. They're not ready for it. And I think all that should be taken care of. So that you're not going to have a collapse. You're not going to lose power, that everything is done beforehand. And that's not happening in this city right now. It's not.
I agree.
Yeah, I think
Thank
that's a
you
great.
so much.
Yeah, I think that's
for that.
actually a really good point, and it's making me think. I actually live next to a construction zone for another new development, and there's cement trucks outside my apartment, like at 6 a.m. making a ton of noise, which shouldn't be happening. And it's actually like created cracks in my ceiling and leaks. And so I think it makes me think that we need a more direct line so that these things can get reported, given the rate of development and the amount of development in the district. None of us are the only ones. And so it seems like we need a place where we can report these kinds of infractions so that there's more immediate action that gets taken. Fred.
Okay, I'll be very brief. I just wanted to pop in, just to say hello to the Housing Committee and to thank you for all the work that you're doing. To say thank you to the chair as well for your leadership in this. And listen, I think these are great conversations, and this is exactly what we're looking for coming from all the committees in terms of the vetting of the issues, really framing the questions that we need to be asking and the actions that the board should be taking as well, and identifying the stakeholders that we should be, holding to account as well. So, unfortunately, I can't stay very long. I have to jump off, but I just want to check in real quick just to say thank you for everything. And absolutely, this is the kind of dialogue that we're looking for in terms of helping the board to understand what the issues are and what we need to be addressing. But Maz, thank you very much for your leadership and everything. I want to thank all the committee members and to the residents who are here as well. Welcome. Thank you for coming. We don't know what we don't know. It's when you come to these meetings and talk to us, this is how we figure out what the issues are on the ground. But otherwise, everyone take care. Have a happy holiday season, and absolutely the board office is here. The committee is here. We have Khalid from the district office as well. The district office team is great. And let me make this one plug. If you have complaints, please utilize 311. It's important because that gets it on the computer. It's registered, it's official. The city knows about it. The B part of that is please let CB9 know. So they will give you a reference number anytime you call 311. Please also make sure you give that reference number to CB9. So that way they can follow up on our side, we can compile how many issues, how many complaints, how many times does this come up? And that way we can escalate as necessary, whether it's just it's a conversation with an agency, or if we need to bring up elected officials and it's a policy issue now that we have to deal with. So I just wanted to share that as well. But everyone, again, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank
Fred.
you.
Thanks, Fred.
Take care.
Good
Appreciate
night.
it.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Fred. I'm gonna give us 2 more minutes to bring all of these kind of points together. And then I want to move to the last agenda item. And adjourn on time. So any other concerns we want to raise? And what I'm gonna do again is I'm gonna pull these together. Work with the board office to figure out how we get these both to Brian Cunningham's office, but also to other elected officials. Maybe the resolution is that we put together our resolution of concern around these developments. First and foremost, we can always, there's no limit to the number of resolutions we can put together. So yeah, so I just want to make sure I've encapsulated everything, all of the concerns that yeah, all of the concerns around this. We have, I'll give us 2 more minutes till 8:23. Anything else?
You can finish early.
That's also true. That's also true. I just want to give people time and space. Okay, with that, thank you, Augustine. I'm going to move to the last agenda item, which is, oh wait, sorry, we have 2 more to get through. My bad. I think we can get through them quickly though. So, City of Yes liaison. So the City of Yes sits in the ULURP committee. It is an initiative around economic development, environmental development, and they're looking for a liaison between, because there's a lot of overlap with housing. There's a need for a liaison between those meetings and these meetings. And I was hoping for a volunteer.
I'll volunteer.
Great, Unella.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Unella volunteers as our official liaison between the City of Yes subcommittee on ULURP and the Housing Committee. Thank you so much, Unella. What that means is attending those meetings. And then we'll have an agenda item each month for you to report back on those meetings.
Right. Because I think I started with when they started earlier, I was going to both, and then, so yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. It's 8:23 and we've gotten through the next agenda item. Okay, given the last agenda item, given everything that we've talked about tonight, I want to continue to reach out to elected officials, or it doesn't even have to be elected officials. We've reached out to members of tenant, like leaders of tenant associations, etc. But I would like to start extending more invitations to special guests to attend these meetings so that we can get the information we need. And so I wanted to put it out there. Who would you like to see at these meetings to either give feedback or for them to be able to respond to some of our questions? Who should we prioritize?
That little beacon of light that I have in my head. Your elected officials are the actual people who, if there is something we wish to try and change, could put forth a bill, a law, or an amendment to a certain something happening. Just information.
So who is that specifically that you want to hear from in these meetings?
All of them. And any of them changing law, your senators, your council people, your district leaders, all of them.
Well, anything that they have as, or anyone who is involved in some way or the other with housing, or has initiatives or collaborating with other officials with housing, maybe we could look to see who they are. I mean, I don't know if we have touched base with Senator Myrie to see what his take is. I mean, this is his district. Maybe we could start there. So at least we get an overall perspective. I'm thinking because he's also the state. Brian is the assembly, and our local council people. Mealy is for this end of the district, and you have Crystal and the others. I think if we could reach out to their office to have an idea as to what they know, what they can or what they can propose, what they think the needs of the community, what they're focusing on, that kind of dialogue that we have, that would give us a better perspective as to what we should be focusing in on what's coming down the pike, and then have their collaborative efforts to work with us as the community board to make sure that we're all on the same page, and we are representing our community as we should, and they're representing the people as they should.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. I said, thanks, that was helpful. Lisa.
Yeah, sorry, I was eating before I was off camera, so sorry. I agree. We should have some representation from our elected officials on here. I do think we do need to have the full list of what we're looking for, like help in trying to manage all our issues. I'm thinking someone from the public advocate's office might be helpful, because they go around and try to help everybody, right? And I don't think they have the same, it'll be a little different than our councilwomen, our assemblymen, and so forth. They have a different lens and can help from that aspect.
That's a great point, Lisa. Do you think in order to get there, we just need to type all these things up so that when they come.
So when they come,
Okay.
we can have, okay, these are the
I just wanna make sure.
concerns of our committee.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Right? And we could just say, this is just a few of them, because we have many concerns. And how can you help us with this?
Okay.
And I think it would be advantageous to work across the line with 17, maybe one meeting every so months or whatever, where we kind of come together as a group, what's on their side, and what's on our side, and how can we meet in the middle, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, Chester, as a first timer, you have the last word, and then we're going to move to adjourn.
Last word. That's a
Yeah.
Yay, Chester, welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Chester.
So as I, very ignorant of all the Vital Brooklyn and whatnot, but I've been looking it up while we've been talking. There are 3 developers that are specifically responsible for the Kingsbrook Jewish Medical Center, which happens to be very close to me. Can we just have them on? Because they must have done all the due diligence. So if they can't answer the questions, then you have a reason to say, well, you guys fucked up. So go back to the drawing board or whatever. And they must have a community liaison or somebody like that with the city. And maybe that's easier to get. I don't know, because it'd be in their best interest to make sure this group isn't unhappy with them.
I think Cunningham just did his 4th meeting about Vital Brooklyn last Sunday. You missed it. I think that was the last one. Or did he say
I
we're
don't think it's the,
he
I
said
think,
he
I
said
think,
he's coming back, right?
yeah, we're trying to do more. And he had the developers there, Chester.
Mhm.
I don't know, man.
As well
I
as
don't
the
know.
state, he had the state there, all the state representatives were there.
Yeah,
as well,
Maeve,
so.
you're not gonna get away from the Vital Brooklyn. You see that, right?
I see that for
But
sure.
it's much more than Vital Brooklyn.
No, it
It
is
is.
much more.
It
It's
is.
It
it's
is.
broadly
It's
about
just that
development.
We're trying
it's
to look
a
at it
major thing
holistically.
right there in the face, and
Yeah.
it's opening a lot of different doors
Yeah,
and avenues for us to actually stop and look at that we should have been looking at all along.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yes, there's, I mean, there's in it, what is it? Disproportionate amount of development happening in this district without the infrastructure. The infrastructure needs being considered, the community needs being considered. I mean, it's sort of like, oh, there's state land, let's put this on there. You know, I think that we're pulling together great points and a great framework. Chester, I'll look into the developers. After hearing from them a bit at the town hall last Sunday, I believe is when it was, November 5th. I don't have a lot of faith, but I think it's really with elected officials pushing the developers. But you know, some of them were really open and concerned, and some of them, I think one of them lived in the district, so it's worth, you know, it's worth a conversation. I think one of the key questions right now, like I said, is I think we have this great list of concerns and demands. I think, you know, one of the questions is just like, what can we adjust at this point? Given this has been a 5-year project, or it's been a 5-year process with groundbreaking in January. So
Yes.
I think a lot of our concerns can be, but it's going to take a lot of work, and I'm excited to work with all of you on it. Go ahead, you know.
Yes, and
Last word.
some of this state, I do, one of the players that I didn't, well, she said she knew my name, because we're under the state, or development is also with the state, and so maybe we could reach out to, I have maybe a liaison with them to see, you know, how we can move forward with this, and what, you know, at least make it a little more palatable for us.
Yeah, please do report back. You have my email. And we'll continue some of this on email. I hope to see many of you at the general board meeting on Monday, this coming Monday. Thank you, Lisa, for that. And yeah, Chester, thank you for joining. Great to see you. Hope you join again. Thanks to
I'm sorry,
everyone
how
who
do I
joined.
email you or the group? Is there like a distribution list or something?
If you join the CB9 distribution, it says when the housing committees are, and feel free to email the district office for my email, and I'm happy to add you to ours. The district office email, Paula, do you want to just shout it out real quick?
Yep, no problem. BK0.
Hold on, getting a pen.
Yep.
BK0
9
9
-1 CB .nyc.gov.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Without anything further, I'm going to call this meeting to adjournment at 8:35 p.m. Thank you for staying an extra 5 minutes.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Have a good
everyone.
night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks.
Night,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Good night.